Nick Kiprios, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right, let's get to him right away because this is a guy that carried me for a few years at Sportsnet here. Let's welcome in Darren Pang, the voice now of the Chicago Blackhawks. Panger, how are you, pal?
I never carried you at all, Kipper. You carried me right to your, right to the basement of your house where we drank wine and hit golf balls in the simulator.
That was a memorable night.
Yeah, that was fantastic. How you doing there, Bordy? How's everything going for you?
Hi.
Yes, you're ready to go here.
Well, it is Monday night hockey at Maple Leaf Gardens.
There you
It's
go.
not Maple Leaf Gardens.
There you
and
go.
It's not Saturday night, but it's
So-
still good.
You're following now, as well as your national gig with TNT, you follow the Chicago Blackhawks extensively here. So let me just ask you, just before we get into specifics, including Connor Bedard, of course, just the overall feel of this season at 8-14-2. They haven't had a real sense of being a playoff team, and we'll exclude the pandemic and all of this for a very long time. So at 8-14-2, where is everybody in Chicago on? Are they where they need to be, or is this a very disappointing start to the season?
You know, I think it's disappointing in the fact that, Kipper, that the wins haven't been there because if you look even closer to, the actual numbers or the actual one-loss record, I mean, they've been in every game in the third period, I believe 23 of 24 games right there. So what I'm saying is the games have been tighter than what you might think. They've given up 9 or 10 empty net goals. So that goes with your goals for, goals against, 5-on-5 and overall totals. They just haven't been on the winning side of that. They've only come back trailing going into the third period once. It was in LA. They trailed 3-0, Kipper. So, but I'll say that and kind of put that in the proper context because people see a record and they think, oh, they must be getting blown out. It's just not going very well. But they're trying to build the right culture. They're trying to build it with guys that have won before, like Alec Martinez and Pat Maroon. Craig Smith's played with a ton of really good teams and playoff caliber teams throughout his entire career. TJ Brody's been there long enough that you guys know enough about TJ and his experience. So I guess where I'm getting to is, did they think they were going to be better in the numbers? Yeah. And do I think they should be? Yeah, I do. Actually, Kipper, I think the numbers should be better. This should be at worst for me, the way they've played, a 500 hockey team at worst. So, yeah. So I guess, they've added older players. They added, some guys that could help out young players like Connor Bedard and Lucas Reichel and Alex Vlasic. And, we got young defensemen as well. And I know they were looking for better numbers or better results at this particular point, but they're building.
So, they have been in a lot of close hockey games and just kind of looking for a little bit more offense at times. Natural question is to go to Bedard on this. He's, 19 points in 24 games. Seems like he's finding it the past few games. Where is Bedard at in his evolution to one of the league's finer players?
Yeah, and you know what, Justin, this is what I love about Connor is that, he's taken this on the chin. He takes it personally. He doesn't go home and fluff it off and play video games. I mean, this kid just thinks, eats, breathes, dreams about being a winner. And so I know that he went through a rugged, 2 to 3 weeks where you guys probably saw some of his quotes where he was pretty open about what he wasn't doing well. And so, yeah, is he right now? I think his last 3 games, you'll see him tonight. He's making plays. His stick handling ability in traffic, is I think much improved from last year. I would have to say this, watching all these games, that if there's one area that he could improve on to make himself a faster player, and that is more of a give and go game. And I think he'll learn that, Justin, in time. Just when to move that puck through the neutral zone, play it to somebody ahead of him instead of carrying it all the way and then slowing everything down and waiting for a pass that's behind everybody instead of maybe going forward. So these are constant reminders that Luke Richardson and his teammates, the older guys like Nick Foligno, constantly, give to him to want to make him a better hockey player. So the little tricks of the trades are things that he's gonna learn along the way.
Panger, I want to just follow up Bedard with maybe just what he's feeling today and what he's felt for the past year and change here. I get the buildup of a generational player. We don't get to say it that often, but we certainly did it big time here in this country as he started his career in Chicago. He gets there. And this is not necessarily a reflection of Chicago, but just maybe us in general as a business or as a league business to put so much weight on this player to dig out an original six team out of the basement, be a face for them, be that next generation past McDavid? And is it caught up to him at all at this point?
You know what, Kipper? He's really good at taking on this responsibility. I'm pretty shocked by, as a young man, how he's been able to handle it. Is it fair? Hey, Kipper, I don't believe it's fair at all. You know, but it's the way it is right now. We've seen videos of him since he was 12 or 13, you know, playing up in Burnaby and playing in the Brick tournament, and you know, and then he followed it up with, you know, really great 3 years on a bad team in Regina, and then he you know, then he sets records for the World Junior Canadian team. So why wouldn't we think, as you compare him to all the other greats? I'm just saying it's not fair because he's just a different player. You know, he doesn't skate a million miles an hour like Connor McDavid. He's not big and strong like Austin Matthews. He's not no one's Wayne Gretzky, so let's leave him alone. But he's like, you know, he's a shooting, he's a guy that creates stuff through the rush and is a shooting machine. And so, I mean, those are the assets that he has and has brought to the table, Kipper. And you know, we put him on a pedestal. He's in Chicago Magazine. You go to the grocery store, you know, there's Connor right there. Is it his fault? Not whatsoever. They're selling tons of 98 sweaters. Every kid around the league, when you go through the warm-ups, all you see is, can I get a puck, Connor Bedard? I love you, number 98, you know, let's play rock, paper, scissors. I mean, it's constant. So for him to play, and especially last year, as well as he played last year in his first year. And then, you know, in the sophomore year, people are going to go after him a little bit more, play him a lot harder, that it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But he carries it like, you know, like the great players have carried it before, and does the interviews and does the work that everybody else has done before him at a young age. So, but again, is it fair? No, because I'll even go to one example. Okay. The Four Nations is a very good example of this. There are so many great players in our game. You can only name 13, 7, and 3 on that team.
Yep.
And yet every time I looked up in Canada, it was like, you know, Connor was automatically there right away. And that might have put extra pressure on him as well, thinking, man, I'm on this team with all these, you know, these guys they're the greats of the greats right now. And they're not even in their prime yet. And he's only in his, you know, half of his second year. So that kind of is a little unfair to both the coaches, the managers, and everybody else, for people to expect that he's going to be on that team, which, you know, I mean, we pour through the list. There's a lot of guys that deserve to be on that team.
Yeah.
And I think Connor would probably say, man, I'm not one of those guys right now at this particular point. Whether he makes or not, I'm not sure. But I'm just saying that was one of those things that I looked at too, that said, wow, that's an awful lot to just throw out there like it's an automatic, when you have to earn the space on that team, in my opinion. And right now, I think there's other guys. So what I'm saying to everybody is, would it surprise me if he was on the team? Not really, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not on that team either, because of the way other guys have played.
The Toronto Maple Leafs may be taking a new approach to salary management, which could directly impact Mitch Marner's contract negotiations. During Kyle Dubas' tenure as general manager, the team didn't hesitate to spend heavily, and this trend began with a 6-year extension signed by Marner in 2019. At the time, Marner's $10.9 million annual cap hit set the market for superstar wingers, surpassing comparable players like Mikko Rantanen of the Colorado Avalanche, who signed a 6-year deal with a $9.25 million annual cap hit. Now, however, times seem to be changing. TSN's Pierre LeBrun recently reported that the Maple Leafs have implemented an internal salary cap, aiming to ensure no player earns more than captain Austin Matthews, who signed a 4-year extension worth $13.25 million per season in August 2023. The team's primary concern revolves around Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, who, according to LeBrun, might push for a percentage of the total salary cap instead of a fixed dollar amount. This could result in Marner's cap hit exceeding Matthews' $13.25 million, conflicting with the Leafs' new financial strategy. Ferris is known for driving negotiations to the limit, often taking his clients to free agency. This raises fears that discussions between Marner and the Leafs could drag on until July 1st, giving Marner and his camp all the leverage in negotiations. Another complicating factor is the rising market. LeBrun noted that Mikko Rantanen believes he could secure $14 million per season as a free agent. This sparks the question, could Marner demand even more? And would Ferris take that gamble, knowing the Leafs might opt to move on and sign another player? Marner has made it clear on multiple occasions that Toronto is where he wants to be. As a local player with deep ties to the city, he's expressed his desire to spend his entire career wearing the blue and white of the Leafs. However, staying with the team may require him to accept less than market value, especially if the front office remains committed to its new salary structure. Such a sacrifice could be vital for the team's collective success and to avoid financial issues that have plagued the recent past. While negotiations are still in the early stages, it's evident that Marner's future with the Leafs is at stake. Maple Leafs fans may need to prepare for the possibility of significant changes, but they can also trust in the player's commitment to the city and the franchise to find a compromise. The Maple Leafs' decision to implement an internal salary cap reflects a broader shift in their team-building philosophy. After years of prioritizing top-end talent with hefty contracts, the organization appears determined to strike a balance between superstar contracts and depth throughout the roster. This strategy aims to avoid the pitfalls of past seasons, where a lack of financial flexibility often left the team vulnerable in critical playoff moments. For Mitch Marner, this shift creates a unique challenge. On one hand, his value to the Leafs is undeniable. A consistent top scorer and elite playmaker, Marner has been instrumental in driving the team's offense. On the other hand, his ability to command a salary that rivals or exceeds Auston Matthews could put the Leafs in a difficult position, especially with a potential need to strengthen other areas of the roster. As the 2023-24 season progresses, the Leafs must weigh the potential consequences of sticking to their cap philosophy. Losing a homegrown talent like Marner would undoubtedly sting for fans and the organization alike. However, allowing one player to dictate financial terms beyond the team's structure could hinder long-term success and force painful sacrifices elsewhere. Adding to the complexity is the looming free agency of William Nylander. If the Leafs are to stick to their internal salary cap, they may also face challenges in retaining Nylander, who could command a significant raise. Balancing contracts for both Marner and Nylander within the new framework could prove to be the ultimate test for Toronto's management team. Another factor at play is the team's ultimate goal, winning the Stanley Cup. While star players like Marner and Matthews are crucial, history has shown that depth and balanced rosters often prevail in the postseason. If the Leafs fail to manage their finances effectively, they risk falling short of building a championship-caliber team, even with elite talent. For Marner, the decision to stay with the Leafs might come down to more than just dollars. His connection to the city, the fans, and his teammates could be deciding factors. If he prioritizes legacy and loyalty over maximizing earnings, there's a strong possibility that he'll work with the team to find a deal that benefits both parties. Negotiations will also test Darren Ferris, known for his hardline tactics in securing lucrative deals for his clients. While pushing for top dollar is expected, Ferris may need to weigh the risks of alienating the Leafs management and fanbase. A prolonged stalemate could damage Marner's relationship with the team and its supporters. The Leafs management, led by general manager Brad Treliving, faces a pivotal moment. Treliving's reputation as a negotiator and team builder will be on full display as he navigates this high-stakes scenario. Striking the right balance could solidify his tenure in Toronto, while a misstep might set the team back for years. For Maple Leafs fans, the coming months will be filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Marner's future, along with the team's ability to stay competitive under financial constraints, will likely dominate conversations as the season unfolds. Supporters can only hope that the team's new approach leads to greater playoff success and, ultimately, the elusive championship. In the end, the outcome of these negotiations could redefine the Maple Leafs' identity for years to come. Whether it results in retaining Marner or reshaping the roster, the team's commitment to an internal salary cap signals a clear focus on long-term sustainability. Fans will be watching closely, hoping for a resolution that keeps the team's core intact and their championship dreams alive. As the negotiations with Mitch Marner progress, another layer of complexity is added by the external competition in the NHL market. Teams with more cap space and fewer restrictions could easily present lucrative offers to Marner if he reaches free agency. The Leafs are not only negotiating with Marner but also indirectly competing with other franchises willing to outbid them for his services. One example of this is Mikko Rantanen, whose potential $14 million value on the open market highlights the growing demand for elite wingers. If Rantanen secures such a deal, it could set a precedent that Marner's camp would use as leverage. The Leafs, however, must remain disciplined, as breaking their internal salary cap for Marner could lead to similar demands from other key players down the line. The looming specter of free agency means the Leafs have a limited window to strike a deal. If negotiations drag on into the off-season, the leverage shifts heavily in favor of Marner and his agent. Darren Ferris, known for his strategic patience, could use this to push for maximum value, putting even greater pressure on the Leafs management to make a decision. This scenario also places significant pressure on head coach Sheldon Keefe. Managing a team amid ongoing contract uncertainty can disrupt chemistry and focus. Keefe will need to ensure that the team remains united and focused on their performance, even as the media and fans speculate about Marner's future. Meanwhile, the Leafs core group, including Auston Matthews, Morgan Rielly, and John Tavares, will likely play a role in influencing Marner's decision. The camaraderie among the players and their collective drive for a championship could persuade Marner to accept a deal that aligns with the team's financial structure. On the flip side, the Leafs could explore contingency plans if a deal with Marner doesn't materialize. Trading Marner would be a bold move, but it could bring significant assets in return, potentially bolstering the team in areas like defense or secondary scoring. This option, while unpopular with fans, might be necessary to maintain roster balance. The timing of these decisions is also critical. With the trade deadline months away, the Leafs must assess whether keeping Marner without an extension risks losing him for nothing in free agency. A preemptive trade could avoid this scenario, but it would also signal a significant shift in the team's short-term goals. Fan sentiment will undoubtedly influence the team's approach. Marner is not just an exceptional player, he's a fan favorite and a symbol of homegrown talent succeeding in Toronto. Losing him could lead to backlash, especially if the team struggles in the aftermath of his departure. The broader NHL landscape also plays a role. As other teams navigate their own salary cap challenges, the Leafs can learn from their successes and failures. Organizations like the Tampa Bay Lightning and Vegas Golden Knights have shown the value of balancing star power with depth, offering a potential blueprint for Toronto's future.